Right, hello. We've just attended the Smart Women Connect breakfast briefing this morning, which was fantastic. We had a great speaker on innovation, and then three of us ended up having a chat afterwards. So I've got Trisha and Alison here. All three of us have lived abroad, worked abroad, been expats, and actually Alison's now repatriating back to Australia. And we've had some interesting discussions around the challenges on that. So Trisha, just tell us briefly about what you do.
So I'm actually an organisational psychologist who helps people to build their cultural intelligence. And a lot of the people that I'm working with are doing exactly that. So they've been offered a job somewhere and they're moving around the world. So, or the organisations who are working with them, want help to integrate them into the team that they're going to be leading or managing. So I help people to understand the process of moving and making a good transition, and I help people to understand the culture that they're going to.
Which is so valuable, because Alison, you've had your experiences. You were in Dubai for 8 years.
Yeah, I was.
So how did you find it? How different was it? What were the key things that you found when you were there?
It is very different, and as you say, it's really important to understand the culture before you get there, as well as then helping you to adjust while you're there. So some of the key things in Middle East cultures generally is the way you do business. If you're doing business with a local, it's not, having a meeting at 10 o'clock and getting in and say, right, well, we've got these things we need to get off the agenda. That doesn't happen off the bat. You first have to get to know the person, and you may have 5 or 6 coffee meetings. They may be at 10 o'clock at night, and it'll be the local that will say, one time out of the blue, so we've got to do this, can you help us? And then the business stuff will start.
Yeah.
And understanding that cultural background is critically important to success.
Yeah. And you've recently launched your new business, which sounds really exciting. So having worked in law firms myself, and Alison comes from a law firm background, tell us what you've just started doing.
So yes, just started literally last week my own business company called Laird Innovations. So working with predominantly at the moment law firms to look at how they can do things a little bit differently. So being a little bit more innovative in how they deliver services to clients, whether that's through using technology or changing processes, and helping lawyers to actually deliver what clients are now asking.
Really
Excellent.
interesting.
Yeah.
And Trisha, I'm obviously working with a number of clients. We're looking at moving candidates across country. So we've got somebody in UK moving to Hong Kong. I'm talking to people about moving all across the APAC region and globally. So do you work with companies to help them settle those people into the new companies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Working with people often will involve like an initial training, so you're talking about becoming familiar with the culture before you go, but then there's often that coaching process of managing the transition well, and managing the transition well might also impact on family members. And so the research is quite significant that those assignments that end early, the majority of them, I think it's between 60 and 80% depending on the research, are because of family issues, and nowadays it's often partners' careers, as well as issues with children and settling. So if you've got a family unit, that's obviously more complex than a single person who might be moving somewhere. But then for the single person, they need to build their relationships and form connections as well, and that can be challenging, both within work and outside of work. I mean, we talk about the first 90 days in any new role, but that's so much more complex if you look at the first 90 days when you've got another country, another culture, building all of your infrastructure and support networks on the ground as well.
Great.
I think one of the things that I learned actually, one of the key lessons that I've learned in all of the different countries that I've moved to is, for the first 6 months, accept every invitation. Even if it doesn't feel like you want to go out and do it, accept everything, because you never know what networks and friendships and contacts you'll actually get as a result of it.
I wrote a book called Finding Home Abroad. It's a guided journal, and that's one of my co-authors' sayings from when she lived in Africa.
Great plug.
So,
that was a great plug from Trisha there. So Trisha's written a book. Alison's got a new business on innovation for law firms and professional services, and I'm helping people find new careers all around the world. But essentially, just a last plug for Smart Women Connect. It's a great group. We have conversations like this every time we meet up, and hopefully that's just given a flavour of the sort of things we talk about.